Trump is back, baby, and welcome to the Men of the Times podcast. That's what we're talking about. I'm your illustrious host, Justin, and next to me is my illustrious co-host,
T.
And we are excited to talk to you about the CNN town hall in New Hampshire with Trump. We're talking about it.
Yeah, and it was one hell of a performance, I will say that.
Trump is back, baby. He is back, whether you like it or not. They let him back into the. They let him back in. Let's say just a couple of things. We got a couple of clips we're gonna watch from it. A couple of things. Number one, you can't find the entire live stream of this anywhere.
No, you can't.
Go look for it. You
Yeah.
won't be able to find it. And for some reason they've left certain clips up, which I find interesting because I don't think they're flattering by any means to CNN in any way. Trump was basically a bulldozer that ran over
Kaitlan
all
Collins.
of CNN and the lady, what was her name?
Kaitlan Collins.
Yeah. It was not pretty.
Not
It was
at all.
pretty bad.
And you would have thought that they would have learnt by now that Trump knows television. And she clearly seemed to be unprepared and out of her depth. And he and this is the thing, is like the thing is when Trump gets on television for a certain amount of time, he is actually quite relatable to the average person. And I think they kind of forgot about that from 2016, because that was the biggest gift of the mainstream media in 2016, was basically giving him all this free advertising, because they thought that it would come off as him sounding like a blowhard and unpresidential, but to a large swath of the American people, he just seems really relatable.
Yeah. I mean, he's a New Yorker who says stuff as he is.
Yes.
I mean, this has always been his character, whether you like him or don't, okay? I don't like him as a person. I don't think he's the worst person ever in the world, like everybody makes him out to be. I think he's just a guy, okay? He's just a guy who is the product of his upbringing and his the privileges that he had. He was born into it. It's not like he had a choice, and he has done pretty well for himself. I mean, he made it to president, for God's sake. So you got to at least experience. You got to say that he at least accomplished something. Okay, regardless of, again, if you don't like him, that's totally fine. I don't like everything he's done or said. Nobody's bloody perfect. He definitely has said a lot of dumb shit.
Yes.
Over time.
Yeah.
Okay. No one here is. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure you share. We're not like huge fans.
No.
Our only thing is we don't think he's the worst thing. We don't think he's Satan reincarnate.
He is certainly not Adolf Hitler, which a lot of people have compared him to.
Yeah,
he's certainly not that.
He's definitely not that.
He's
not the best.
He's just a big mucker from New York.
Yeah, and
honestly,
he's an entitled person who's literally been in charge his entire life.
Yes. He's always used to being
from probably being a kid, even because his dad was the way his dad was, and then he gets the money from his dad, and then he starts his businesses. He's always been in charge, so he hasn't, he's always been able to kind of get his way, and that's why he is. He's got that, New York moxie bravado about him, and he says what he means, and he means what he says for the most part. And sometimes you don't know what the hell he's saying, but he still means it. So. And sometimes he doesn't know what he's saying, but he means whatever it is he thinks he's saying.
I have to be honest. Perhaps that moxie and that outlook, really, in terms of just pure policy, made him quite an effective president. And
if you look at his policy,
yes, just his policy,
foreign policy in particular, and even some domestic policies were actually not bad, but culturally it was a train wreck, and. I mean, I will give people on the left the valid claim that culturally he wasn't good. But then there's all kinds of other arguments you can get into about was that a reflection of what happened during the Obama years, and he was a natural countermeasure
to that
from what happened from the Obama. I mean, there's so many arguments you can have. That's not what we're hoping we don't have to get into all of that. What we want to do is focus on what is it? Would it be the equivalency of the Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah.
And Trump strikes back. And although I'm not sure which one really is the Empire. Is it the MSM or is it Trump? I'm not really sure.
I would definitely say it's
one.
the MSM. It's really the American elite class, and that includes the mainstream media, the federal bureaucratic class, like the ones who have like served in all those alphabet agencies from the FBI, the CIA, and academia and culture like Hollywood and universities. It's that American elite class, the Harvard Yale crowd, that despises him. And honestly, I gotta be frank. I do find it kind of appealing when he gives them a punch on the nose sometimes.
I think a lot of people when he does that. I do
find that appealing. I'm not going to lie. These are people who honestly think that just because they went to Harvard and Yale, that they think that they're better than everybody else just by the fact of their education alone. And sometimes these people have been really quite bloody stupid.
Sometimes they're not actually that smart.
No, they're not. They're really not.
It just gives them that bravado to think that they are smarter than everybody else.
Just because they
and
have
then regular people look at them and go, "Why are you being dumb right now?"
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And these are the same people, and you're just like, you're trying to convince me that 5-year-olds can trans their gender.
Yeah.
You're not that smart. No.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, we're going to watch some of the greatest hits from the CNN town hall with Trump. I mean, there's a lot of people that were super upset. You know, what was interesting was also the backlash.
That's how you know that he did well.
I mean, first of all, let's just be honest. CNN is trying to do a couple of things. One, Fox News is a ship on fire that is sinking.
Yep.
And CNN ain't really doing any better. It just might not be sinking as fast. CNN is a ship that's very, very slowly sinking that's on fire. And Fox News is a ship that basically just blew up and is starting to sink very, very fast.
Yeah.
It's basically the situation. So CNN's like, oh, let's try and grab some viewers and have a GOP primary town hall, which is, again, theoretically supposed to be talking about issues pertaining to what people
Republican
in the GOP would want to hear about, but
care about.
Let's be honest, it's a CNN, and the CNN of today is not the CNN of like the early and late 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah, it's not.
It's just not the same. It's just not. So they have an obvious agenda that they still push while having these people on here. It's really watching some of these clips, it was so blatantly obvious. It was sickening.
See, do you know what I think?
Sickening. Like, why? You're also Americans. Why can't you just do your job?
Yes.
And be impartial, like once. Do
you know what I think CNN went wrong?
Just basic journal. Ask a question, let them respond. Ask a question. If anything, be clever and ask the right types of questions so that you get the person to like Joe Rogan is really good at this.
Yes.
You just let somebody talk themselves into a corner, and then you ask the right questions to the point where they don't have an answer, and you get that moment where like it's a dog that's just heard a really high pitched noise. They go, huh? and they do that themselves. And they go, oh, I don't know if I'm making sense right now. And it's like, you're not.
But they've given them the opportunity to hang themselves. You know,
right?
They're not trying to intercede to cause the controversy or be the center.
But what CNN constantly does is they just bash themselves in the face with a very large, blunt object.
Do you know why I think CNN went wrong?
Where?
When I moved to this country in 2012, the way that it was told to me that the American MSN worked was MSNBC was the left, Fox News or the Democrats. Fox News was the conservatives and the Republicans, and CNN was the one in the middle. And CNN held that market for being the ones in the middle. And then Trump came along and he broke them. And all of a sudden they went way to the left of anything. And it started really with the directorship of Jeff Zucker, and they went way to the left, who had more of a history in kind of reality TV. I think he did Survivor or something like that anyway. But he started wanting to get more controversial and start being antagonistic, especially towards Republicans. I still remember that 2012 debate between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, where the CNN moderator, what was her name? Candy Crowley?
Yeah, that's
Do you remember that?
So. Yeah.
When she basically Romney had Obama on the ropes at about a particular policy issue. I believe it was something with foreign policy. Because
his was terrible. Yeah. So that's probably what it was.
Obama was trying to convince the world that Putin was okay at that point. Forget it. They forget about that now. But Romney had him on the ropes, and Crowley just completely interjected and rescued Obama. And then from that point, and then certainly with Trump, they started trying to compete with MSNBC in the far left Democrat demographic, and then just leaving at least 50% of the country just firmly in the camp of Fox News. Like they were the cable version of C-SPAN. Just boring, straight down the line news. And they had that, and Jeffrey Zucker destroyed that reputation for them. And that's why their ratings have completely collapsed ever since Trump left, is because they were just like, walls are closing in for 4 fucking years.
Yeah.
And then he left, and then all of a sudden they're competing for like 20% of the market.
I mean, their ratings are dog shit. They're dog shit.
Absolutely.
That's why they also brought him back on. I mean, we're not going to watch it, but Anderson Cooper.
It destroyed their reputation for just being honest, straight down the line news. And I think Chris Licht, who came in after Zucker was fired, and then they fired Brian Stelter, and Don Lemon was just let go soon. Andrew Cuomo got fired after it turned out he was lying about the news to protect his brother. That's a whole aside. But
they don't have the best reputation.
No, they don't. And
their ratings
they destroyed their own reputation.
Yeah.
They destroyed it.
Well, that's why they're bringing Trump on, because they know Trump always brings ratings.
Oh yeah,
and they can try and shit all over him and make everybody look bad. And the people who watch them still are like, "Oh yeah, you're really sticking it to it." The problem is this time they failed miserably.
I'm not so sure about that.
Well, the other thing is that they obviously want Trump to probably be the nominee because they think Biden has the best chance of winning which he probably does. And in that regard, they definitely did help, because I mean, we're not going to watch this one, but Anderson Cooper, if you don't want to watch this network anymore, I understand.
Oh my god, I saw that,
and it literally was like the most brainwashy shit.
Yes, he should I'm sorry.
Do you understand that this could happen again? You didn't think it could happen, but he's still here. He's back. The MAGA people are still around. Can you live with that?
And some of them are your family members.
Yes, some of them are your family members. I'm like,
I saw that, bro. I saw that. I was just like, no one would ever get away with talking about their employers like this.
I don't think I've ever seen a more blatant case of on-air brainwashing messaging
meltdown
I have ever seen.
And again,
it was remarkable.
And if Chris Licht really wants to seriously rebuild the reputation of CNN, Anderson Cooper deserves to be fired for that. No one would ever keep their jobs if they spoke about their employer like that. No,
it wasn't. No, it wasn't about the employer. I don't care about because that was a red herring.
Oh yeah, but nobody did.
By his message, he was. I know
he denigrated his employer to their viewers.
No. That's
you don't think he did?
No.
You don't think so?
No. all of that's just all reverse psychological tactic of being like, oh yeah, you should if you don't ever want to watch this channel again, I understand. It was rough. We shouldn't have done. All that stuff is just reverse psychology for people to disarm them, to be like, oh, we get it, CNN. Because at the end of the message, the message is you got to go. But see, we did it on purpose, guys, because we wanted you to know that he's still the boogeyman is still there. We gotta get rid of the boogeyman. We gotta make sure we defeat the Trump man.
See,
it's just like, would you relax? Would you bloody relax?
I see where you're coming from, but if I was Chris Licht, I would fire him.
He's not gonna fire Anderson.
No, but he should.
No,
I would.
No.
Well, no.
And replace him with who?
He won't. But what I am saying is that if he wants to rebuild CNN's reputation, he should fire him, because he did denigrate his employer during his job in front of their viewers. He called into question the judgment of his boss by having a former president and the current frontrunner of the two major political parties in this country appear on their news network.
Right, I get what you're saying, but I don't think anybody
fire him.
I don't think anybody really
fire him.
I don't think anybody really has a. I think it's all kind of really part of the plan. But regardless, let's
We'll see.
Well, the actual town hall itself was quite interesting, and some of the clips that that are still on YouTube and are still watchable are
quite good,
very intriguing. So. Let's start with them talking about the default, which is interesting.
So we're at $33 trillion, a number that nobody ever thought possible. When we had our economy rocking and rolling just prior to COVID coming in, like literally, we were making a fortune. And oil, we were going to make so much money from oil, we were going to start paying off debt. But then with COVID coming in, we had to do other things. We had to keep this country alive because it was so serious. But we have to get the country back. We have to lower energy prices. We have to lower interest rates. Interest rates are through the roof. Energy has to come down. It all has to come down, and we have to start paying off debt. But when we have a debt limit, and they use that very seriously to me. They came in, Schumer came in with Nancy Pelosi, and they were using it. We'll violate it. We'll do whatever. They talked a whole lot different than they do right now. I say to the Republicans out there, congressmen, senators, if they don't give you massive cuts, you're going to have to do a default. And I don't believe they're going to do a default, because I think the Democrats will absolutely cave, because you don't want to have that happen. But it's better than what we're doing right now, because we're spending money like drunken sailors.
So just to be clear, Mr. President, you think the U.S. should default if the White House does not agree to the spending cuts Republicans are demanding?
Well, you might as well do it now, because you'll do it later. Because we have to save this country. Our country is dying. Our country is being destroyed by stupid people, by very stupid people.
You once said that using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge just could not happen. You said that when you were in the Oval Office.
That's when I was president.
So why is it different now that you're out of office?
Because now I'm not president.
The U.S. defaulting would be massively consequential for everyone in this room, for all Americans.
You don't know. It's psychological. It's really psychological more than anything else. And it could be very bad. It could be maybe nothing. Maybe you have a bad week or a bad day. But look, you have to cut your costs. We're spending $7 trillion on, much of it on nonsense. $7 trillion on nonsense.
We've got another question
from
a voter tonight.
Get all of that money that was wasted, and frankly, the Senate should have never approved it. Get all that money that was wasted, and if they don't get rid of that, you'll have to default. Okay?
Mr. President, we've got another voter here tonight.
And by the way, you're going to default eventually anyway, but it's going to be much messier. I don't think you'll have to default. I think if the Republicans hold strong and they say let's say we want $5 trillion off, I really think the Democrats have no choice but to do it. And if I win, they're going to be doing the same thing to me in 2 years. I guarantee you that.
Interesting comments. He's a masterclass on working a room.
Yes.
I mean, he is the king. Now, what's interesting is, what you hear a lot from a lot of the people, like, oh my God, Trump and his lies, he's a liar. You keep hearing people. They basically scream. That's literally how they just scream at you. Is really what a lot of them do. Here's the thing about Trump that everybody uses it very effectively against him, but the problem is he speaks in like very broad generalizations.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to like understand what he's doing. Like I can almost see the wheels
Turning
in his head. I can see what he's thinking about when he says these broad, like he's talking about, oh, we could have made so much money on oil. We could have made so much money on oil. I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but I can see that you know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
It's just not coming out in like specifics. So then people are like, oh, he's lying. We weren't gonna make a lot of money on oil. It's like he's thinking about something specific, and he's like, it's just not coming out in a specific.
He doesn't have a very wide range of vocabulary.
No, he doesn't either.
He really doesn't.
Is simple stuff.
He's trying. He's trying. You're right. You can tell that
we're spending money like drunken sailors. You know the expression?
Yes,
that's hilarious.
You're right in the sense that you can tell that he's obviously a very intelligent man who's thinking very deeply and methodically about a subject, but he lacks the vocabulary to express that
in the most appropriate way.
Yes,
at the time, because he's also trying to speak very quickly.
Yes,
because he knows he's going to get interrupted every 5 seconds.
Well, not just that. He's also from the world of the big mucker New York CEO.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, fuck it, I want this. And they don't have time to enunciate correctly or eloquently what they want. It's just fuck you, do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the world that he's from.
Right.
Honestly, what I got from that, and I think what he's demanding that the Republicans do is to finally have some kind of spine and pair of testicles to call the Democrats bluff. Because Republicans have done this time and time and time again when it comes to negotiating with Democrats on the debt.
I swear, if you cross this line, I'm gonna smack you in the face.
Yeah, but they
and then
always
the Democrats cross the line. When you cross this line, I swear, I'm gonna smack you in the face. And then they cross again. You'll really get my moxie up if you cross this line. I swear, I'll smack you in the face. And it just keeps going back.
Absolutely, and that line they keep pushing is the debt limit. We are $31 trillion in debt. 31 trillion since the Bush administration. Now, Bush had the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, war on terror. Obama just never wanted a budget placed on him. Trump started trying to put things right, but then he had to blow the credit card on COVID. And now Biden has just, he's made Obama look financially responsible.
Biden doesn't even know who has his credit card.
The people, yeah, exactly. He's giving the credit card out to his fucking kids, and they're coming out with a Lamborghini, and he's like, what? And we're like, where the fuck did that come from?
He doesn't even know what it is. No, Biden doesn't even know what the Lamborghini. Like, oh, that's a nice car. Who is it? I bought it, Dad. Oh, who are you?
But he's basically what he is saying now is that Republicans, for the first time in a long time, because this is the key point when it comes to American politics. Republicans are just fucking castrated, neutered babies. They are so weak, and Democrats steamroll them all the time. The Democrats, don't get me wrong, Democrats are a very efficiently run. They're the most efficient party I've ever seen in the history of the world. Like, they have their talking points and they stick with it. They never budge, no matter what. And because they have the power of the mainstream media behind them, they know that
you know what the Democratic Party is like?
It's always going to be pushed.
You know what they're like? They're like a bunch of old ladies who are speed walking for exercise in a line in their little jogger suits, just going.
Yeah,
they're all just in line, just hot stepping together. And
yeah,
like, we're getting our exercise today. That's exactly what I envision.
Oh, I mean,
when the Democratic Party being like, everybody falls in line, they all are in lockstep with one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't deviate away from their message.
And
they get all kinds of groups and parties together to be all on the same message. It's impressive.
Yeah.
You listen to when we listen to some of these other things you hear, but it's fascinating. how like literally from host to the moderator to other people, they all say the exact same questions, the same things. They're trying to get, or they're trying to get people to say something. It's like, Jesus Christ, did you all go to the same
Yes, they
meeting?
did.
Like,
here
are your notes. Here are your notes for the day.
You know where they all went to? They all went to the same Ivy League schools and colleges that have indoctrinated them in this progressivism, and then they go out into the real world, and they're all working on the same campaigns, and then they go from the campaigns and the political offices straight to the mainstream media. George Stephanopoulos is the head of news on ABC, right? His job was chasing down women for Clinton, or shutting women up for Clinton. Jen Psaki has now got the prime show on MSNBC, and she was literally 5 minutes ago Biden's press secretary. And if you Ben Rhodes, Obama's chief foreign advisor, his brother was a reporter for CBS or ABC, one of them. So all of these reporters have friends or were part of the Democratic establishment in some way. And so they all know each other. They've all dated the same people. They've all gone to the same Ivy League schools. And so they just parrot each other. Because all they've known is each other.
A bunch of parrots.
Yes.
Who's the person whose shoulder they're sitting on? That's the question.
Yes. But like
it's big corporations. That's who it is.
So they've used that power time and time and time again to just steamroll Republicans and just bash them into agreeing, especially when it comes to the debt limit, to just agreeing what they want. So what they do, the mainstream media and the Democratic Party, is they just keep doing this to Republicans.
Hey, give us more money.
And
give us more money.
And what they're saying to the Republicans are like, "Why are you hitting me?" And they're just like, "No, you're hitting you."
Why are you hitting yourself, Republicans?
Why are you hitting yourself?
Stop hitting yourself.
I'm not. You're hitting me. Like, you're hitting me. And they're just like, "Why are you hitting yourself?" I'm not. You're hitting me.
And then they go, "I identify as a boy today." And you're like, what? You have boobs. Boys can have boobs. Well, I guess that is true. That's technically accurate. All right, all right.
I've got quite the pair.
Man tits. All right, fair enough. I can't argue with that one there, demos. I can't argue with that. Cripes.
So
yeah,
you are okay though from my hitting you.
Thanks for I'm okay, buddy. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Anyway, this next clip is an even better example of how ridiculous the moderator is and the message they're pushing to try and get like, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha, bitch. It's like the Dave Chappelle, gotcha, bitch type moments. It's honestly, it's so blatant.
Yeah,
it's so in your face.
I know.
I mean, I get if you're a leftist, whatever. I get you don't like you hate Trump. I get it. And hey, I'm there with you. Sometimes I really don't like stuff he says and does and all that stuff. I'm on board. I don't really want him to be president again either. To be fair, I really don't.
No.
I'd love for somebody else. I'd love to have two mostly alive, competent people running for the presidency. That I feel like if this person was in office, at least he looks like he's up to the job.
I would much prefer an election of Ron DeSantis against RFK Jr. rather than a fucking Biden Trump.
That would be very interesting. I tell you,
it would be, but it's not going to happen.
At least not this time around. We got at least.
We've still got the Zimmer frames.
We got another round of the geriatrics going after it.
Yeah.
One more round of the geriatrics, and then we might actually get somewhere decent. But yeah, it's just so blatant the manipulation that they're trying to perpetrate on us, the viewing public. So let's have a look at that.
The current administration has made it clear that we should continue to provide military equipment to Ukraine so that they can defend themselves. Do you support this decision, and how would you deal with the increasing threat posed by Vladimir Putin?
First of all, thank you very much. It's really nice. and it's an important question, so important, because we're giving away so much equipment. We don't have ammunition for ourselves right now. We don't have ammunition for ourselves. We're giving away so much. But here's the thing. I have to say it to start off. No longer matters. If I were president, this would have never happened. And even the Democrats admit that. Putin knew it would have never happened. And his pipeline would have never happened. A lot of things would have never happened. But this would never have happened. And all those dead people, both Russian and Ukrainian, they wouldn't be dead today. And all those cities that are blown up and disintegrated right to the ground, that wouldn't have happened. Okay, now, here's the problem. We've given so far $171 billion. They've given, meaning European Union, which is approximately the same size altogether as our economy. They've given about 20. So we're at 170, let's say, and they're at 20. You don't have to know too much about history to realize, or geography, to realize that they're a little bit more affected than we are, okay? So they've got to put up a lot more money because they're taking advantage of us like every other country did. That's why I ended NAFTA and replaced it with the USMCA, Mexico,
But on
Canada.
this issue, Mr. President, I should know, I don't know any Democrats who have said they don't believe Putin would have invaded if you were president. But her question is, would you continue to give Ukraine money and weapons if you're elected? What's the answer?
I have a very good relationship with President Zelensky because, as you know, he backed me up with the phony impeachment hoax number one when he said the president didn't do anything wrong. So
that was
I happen
when you
to
asked
like.
him for an investigation
So I happen to like. Yeah, that's right.
weapons.
And I was totally exonerated, by the way. Just a waste of time and money.
You were impeached over that. You
I
were
was
impeached over
impeached.
that. But let's stay on topic here, Mr. President, because the question is, would you give Ukraine weapons
I was
and
impeached
funding?
by a crazy woman named Nancy
But
Pelosi.
the question
who
here is,
sympathized.
would you give Ukraine weapons and funding if you were
I would
elected?
sit down. Let me just put it a nicer way. If I'm president, I will have that war settled in 1 day, 24 hours.
How would you settle that war in 1 day?
Because I'll meet with Putin, I'll meet with Zelensky. They both have weaknesses and they both have strengths. And within 24 hours, that war will be settled. It'll be over. It'll be absolutely
Do you
over.
want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country. You have
Mr.
to
President,
get
can
Europe.
I just follow up on that because that's a really important
Excuse me,
statement
let me
that
just
you just
follow
made
up.
there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying, Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying. And I'll have that done. I'll have that done in 24 hours. I'll have it done. You need the power of the presidency to do it.
But you won't say that you want Ukraine to win. You
know what
when
I'll
you were
say?
in-
I'll
when you
say
were in
this.
office-
I want Europe to put up more money because they're in for 20 billion. We're in for 170, and
that's
they
not
should
an
be.
answer about who
And they
should
should
win the war.
equalize. They have plenty of money. They should equalize. I got with NATO.
But I'm
when I
asking you
sat
about
down, I got
Ukraine
them
right
to
now,
put up
Mr.
hundreds
President.
of billions of dollars that they weren't paying under Obama and Bush and all of these other presidents. That's why they're able to help them fight the war because of the money I got. But I
let's
want
talk about
Europe.
what's happening in
Excuse
Ukraine,
me.
Mr.
I want
President.
Europe to put up more money because they're laughing at us. They think we're a bunch of jerks. We're spending $170 billion for faraway land, and they're right next door to that land, and they're in for 20.
You were in office, you said that you respected President Putin. Do
Yeah,
you
I do.
still respect him today?
He made a tremendous mistake. He was a smart guy, you know. I remember I said he was smart, she was smart. They
What
said
was his
he
mistake?
said President Xi of China, right, is smart. Okay, 1.5 billion people. He's the ruler of 1.5 billion people. I said, yeah, he's a smart guy. How dare he say he's smart? Of course he's smart. They want you to say he's a stupid person. Okay, he's not a stupid person. He's very smart. He's very cunning. And Putin made a bad mistake, in my opinion.
What was his mistake?
His mistake was going in. He would have never gone in if I was president. We used to talk about it, too.
Do you believe that Putin is a war criminal? He's responsible for the deaths of thousands
Well,
of
I think
Ukrainian men
this.
and
I think
women
it's
and
something that
children.
should not be discussed now. It should be discussed later. Because right now we have to get a war. If you say he's a war criminal, it's going to be a lot tougher to make a deal to get this thing stopped. Because if he's going to be a war criminal where people are going to go and grab him and execute him, he's going to fight a lot harder than he's fighting, you know, under the other circumstance. That's something to be discussed at a later date.
But isn't it
right now,
important
we
to
want
call
to
it
get
what
that
it
war
is?
settled. And I'm not talking about the money either. I'm talking about all the lives that are being, the number of people being killed in that war is far greater than you're hearing. When they blow up a city and those buildings come pouring down and then they say 2 people were injured, no. Hundreds and thousands of people are being killed, and we have to get that war settled.
That is why his foreign policy was so effective.
Yeah. Look, this is a pretty simple thing to understand. There's a couple things that I gathered from watching this that I wanted to talk about. One, the reason why Putin didn't do anything. First of all, if you go look at the policies against Russia, Trump had like the most.
Yes.
Number one, fun fact, everybody, go look that up.
Yeah.
Literally, Trump had the most policies against Russia than any other president.
There was no harder president. There was no harder president on Russia than Donald Trump.
That's number one. Number two, the reason why Putin didn't pull any shit is because he knew there was a guy on the other side who would act.
Yes.
That's the thing. Honestly, that's how he should. I was thinking about that's how I would answer, right? And that's why also with Bush, it's interesting with the Republican presidents, people don't tend to pull as much shit.
No,
I feel like than with Democrat presidents,
because Democrats live in this fantasy land.
I don't know why that is.
Democrats live in this fantasy land that everyone can be negotiated with, and everyone can have a nice marshmallow and hot cocoa, and they'll want to be part of they'll want to be part of the community of nations. I noticed this particularly in a documentary on HBO. I think it was called The Last Year. It was about the final year of the Obama administration when they were trying to do the Iran deal and everything else. And it was so revealing, not just about the mindset of the Democratic Party elite, but really about the lengths they went through to basically deny this man. Because they covered the end where Trump won the election in 2016. And there was literally Obama staffers, right? Something happened at the point where Putin assassinated someone or Putin invaded this country. And they were standing around, these Obama staffers, and they were just like, we don't know why he's doing this. Why would he not want to be part of the community of nations? And I'm sitting there thinking, because he doesn't give a shit. He does not care about your community of nations.
Aren't they already veto on the UN Council anyway? Russia?
Yes, yeah,
so
they
what the hell does he care? He doesn't give a shit.
Which is why the UN
it's a waste of his time.
Yes, which is why the UN is a garbage organization.
It's terrible.
This whole concept that we can be this. Let's all
hold hands and sing Kumbaya.
And that
we're
somehow
all one people. Do.
Yes.
No, it's not.
We can.
Whee! All right, don't touch me. Just kidding.
But this whole concept that we can forget about all of this history and differences of culture and differences in religion and differences in language and all be part of this one world community, aka government, that a lot of these Western progressives have been pushing for the past 100 years is a pile of dog shit and is completely out of the world of reality. And people who want regional commands of their own parts of the world, like Vladimir Putin. All Putin has ever wanted in Putin's grand vision, in his grand mind, what he was going to be was Tsar Vladimir the Great, who reestablished the Soviet Union under the Russian Federation and dominance of all the Slavic
How's that
peoples.
working out for him? Not well.
Not great.
He did get Crimea back.
But not great. But that was his grand vision. And they never fucking understood it. They never tried to understand it. Because we're going to hold hands. Everybody, hold hands. Sing around the world. It was never going to work.
Yeah.
It was never going to work.
Well, the funny thing is people who feel like they understand that end up not being the best people to actually understand the people
and guess where
who are in charge.
And guess where all these people go?
Where, T?
Harvard or Yale, and they think they're so smart. They're just so smart and like fuck off. You have no basis in reality.
They just drink. Well, they're not drinking tea, but they are drinking the Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid margarita. We are so much smarter than you because we have a degree in international relations from Harvard. We are gonna make the world hold hands despite all history, war, cultures, and languages. and we're just so much better than you, little people.
That's what they think. That's what they think.
Yes, that is how they think.
You are the Smurfs.
That is how they think. They think we're the plebs,
Yeah.
and we're honored to be in the world that they are creating for us.
Yeah.
Fucking tosspots.
Oh,
Sorry,
I love it. I love it.
there's
Yeah.
nothing that
Hey,
there's
T,
nothing that
tell
gets
us how you really feel.
there's nothing that gets my fucking craw up than elitist fucking pricks.
I think we just experienced T's version of Peter Griffiths. You know what really grinds my gears? These goddamn socialists.
Socialist, elitist, all of them.
Lord have mercy.
Oh.
Well, here's the other thing, okay?
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, he gave a great answer there. That's what you want to hear from a president. I don't expect him to actually end it in 24 hours, but that's just what you want to hear from the president of the United States.
Yes, absolutely.
Not,
Something that's grounded in reality. See what
is it time for ice cream? I like chocolate chips. It's just not the same. But here's the biggest thing I wanted to grab from that was I was talking about the blatancy of the message and like how overtly they're. First of all, she's interrupting him like every 5 seconds. The other thing is the question. Can you say right now if you want Russia or Ukraine to win the war?
Yes.
Can you say that? It's like how bad are you at your job? That you're like that is literally you can hear people groaning.
Yeah.
But it's like you're not even doing it in a good way.
Yeah.
It's
you're
like
clearly
so
just wanting
obvious.
a talking point.
Yeah, you just
And-
want to catch him in a. You want to catch him in saying something. And it's like, come on, man. At least do it in a clever way.
Yes.
If you're gonna do it. I mean, some of the stuff you see out today, they just don't care. They just don't care. It's like they don't care.
No.
They're literally in a room of people. Like she's literally in a room of people that pretty much all know what she's trying to do and
Yes.
don't like her.
Yeah.
And she's still doing it.
And these people have seen CNN do this for 8 years.
More
and
than
somehow,
8 years.
And somehow the people at CNN still think that these people are so stupid they're not going to notice. But CNN,
ridiculous.
CNN, people who vote Republican are not as dumb as you think they are. They know what you're doing. They see what you're doing. So stop fucking doing it.
Well, they're going to keep doing it, but they're going to keep doing it because hey, I'm the Kool-Aid man. They all drink the same Kool-Aid. Okay?
But see, the thing is, right? What I saw from that answer, and that really impressed me, was just how grounded in reality the statement was. I don't want to pick winners or losers. I just want people to stop dying. If you start saying, I'm picking this guy as the winner, he was right. What other alternative is Putin going to have? That if you literally say, this guy's the winner, so that means you're going to be fucking tried for war crimes, what is the point in him?
The other thing is, Ukrainians and Russians, as much as there's a war going on, they'll hate each other. Ukrainians and Russians, the people will probably be able to get back. They'll probably be able to be buddy
They're
because
Slavic cousins.
they're basically they're almost. I don't want to get in trouble for saying this, but they're almost the same. They're not the same.
No,
but
they're not. But
they're
similar.
so closely aligned. It's definitely it's the Poles, the Ukrainians, the Russians. It's all Slavic over there.
The first Russian Tsar was crowned in Kiev. The Kievan Rus.
Yeah. Exactly.
In Kiev.
It's all the same type of people. The only difference is now. Yeah. It's the same. Yeah. And I'm Polish, so I mean half Polish, so I mean I understand it. So it's not like it just needs to end. It needs to end, and it's not ending right now. The other thing is how she's phrasing the questions about. Do you want? Oh, so you're not going to support Ukraine, or you can't say you want to? Because they still want the war to happen for reasons.
Yeah,
they want the war to continue to happen for reasons. They don't want to tell you what the reasons are, but they want you to support Ukraine and the continued war effort, where we're continually giving money when there are other things that we could be using that money for.
But also
one thing Trump didn't do was get us into any wars or fund massive military situations. he was getting us out of Afghanistan in a good way. It was projected
A responsible
out,
way.
a responsible
A
way.
good,
It would have gone out,
responsible way.
not just like, oh, we're getting out of Dodge.
Yes. And then we
Leave all
abandoned
the shit.
And then we abandoned $7 billion worth of the best military equipment in the world to fucking child rapists from a cave
according
in Afghanistan.
to the director of defense, I believe, when we give them the equipment, it's theirs. It's theirs. Then, you see.
Oh,
So-
that's very clever, isn't it?
it is very
I
clever.
bet he went to Harvard.
Oh yeah. You know they all sat in a room and a big
What talking point do we get
big old circle
What
jerk.
talking point do we go through today?
Oh, I think I have a really good idea. Oh, that's very good, Johnson.
But
Very nice. Yes, that's a
actual-
good idea. Let's say that.
Before we leave this clip, though, there is one thing that he said right at the beginning when he, I think you said, what does that mean? We are spending so much money in Ukraine that we are starting.
Oh, about the ammunition.
That's what I meant. The ammunition.
That I would fact check.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure the U.S. military
But
is
no,
okay.
I have heard rumors that the American military is getting to the point where they are starting to get worried about being able to arm places like Taiwan, and because we are spending so much ammunition in Ukraine.
FYI,
right now.
that's also China's plan.
Yes.
China wants Russia to
yes.
continue its war
and
to deplete
Mhm,
the resources
mhm.
of the United States, which is
States,
funding
so
Ukraine.
they can
And
take,
that is also
Mhm,
part of Trump's
mhm,
point. It's like,
mhm,
no, hey,
mhm.
European Union, send them your own shit. It's not
Yes,
just the United
yes.
States here, okay?
because we've got other responsibilities.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry,
It's
I
just
know I know a lot
ridiculous.
of you hate Trump's personality, but on foreign policy,
On that policy point, he's
yes.
correct.
On foreign
And
policy,
it doesn't have anything to do, by the way, of us losing any allies. You guess what? They still are going to be our allies.
yes,
Okay?
yes.
They're not going to just all of a sudden abandon because we go, hey, pay a little bit more money.
But guess what?
It's
They're going to
ridiculous.
start taking a bit more responsibility, which they were doing under him.
They wish they had
Foreign-
before they did the Russian
Yes.
pipeline. I guarantee that. Remember when everybody
Absolutely.
laughed at him
Mhm.
and he said, "Oh no, you shouldn't do
The
it."
Germans,
And the Germans
Yeah.
especially, they had
Yeah.
to go back to coal energy
yes, yeah.
because they didn't have enough
The-
power to fuel their homes at night.
The arrogance of the Germans in
I
that
mean,
moment was
come on.
astonishing.
And then they went, "Oh, we've made a very big mistake."
Yeah, no
Uh,
shit, no shit.
Well, we seem to find ourselves in a very big predicament.
Nein, Scheiße.
We have nowhere to warm our homes, and the oil from Russia is coming, but now it's not because we are not able to get it.
I know. When Biden
It's a conflict of interest, yeah.
when Biden approved that pipeline but shut down the Keystone pipeline
Yeah.
here. I mean, I'm sorry, guys. I know you hated Trump's personality, but his policies.
There are plenty of reasons to not like Donald Trump. I don't
yes,
like
on
Donald
a personal
Trump
level.
on many
But his
levels.
policies.
On many
His
levels, I
policies were
don't
so
like.
good.
On many levels, I didn't like him.
So good.
Okay, but the country from a policy and economic perspective before COVID was doing pretty
Great.
well.
Yes.
It was doing pretty much better than what we're dealing with now. I will give him credit for that. For a lot of things, I will not give him credit,
Yeah.
but for that, I can give him some credit. Again, I would prefer to have not him as president, but everybody. You know, if here's the before we get to the clip of the last clip I wanted us to watch, the other component is try and think for a minute. Why do they keep bringing him on, giving him airtime, giving him space, things like this? There is an agenda there as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm specifically speaking to like Democrats at this point. Okay, there's reasons behind these. Oh man, and we're not going to get into the videos of the media afterwards, which you should go look at those videos. Watch these clips. Go watch these clips and this is the biggest thing. Okay, you have to, and this is part of why we do this show. Because we are trying to show you the actual source material for everything that we talk about, because most of the time you are going to get spoon-fed bullshit from the mainstream media. I watched an ABC report, I watched CNN talking about their own bloody town hall, and it was nothing but full-packed lies
Yeah.
about what Trump actually said and what he actually was talking about in here because they did such a bad job. They cut it early
20 minutes.
by 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because the moderator couldn't hold her own. She was doing, and that's an example of it.
Can you tell us who you want to win the
The
war?
constant
Russia or
interjecting.
Ukraine?
Yeah, I know.
It's like, lady, would you?
I mean,
there's better ways of trying to get him. Again, let him talk himself into a corner. But again, why are they putting? It's all purposefully done for ratings, for money, to get Trump to be the nominee because they want actually Biden to come in, so the people and the forces behind Biden are actually still pulling the strings and running it. I mean, the corporations and people who are actually pulling the strings behind the scenes don't want us to ever have actual competent people. This goes all the way back to Alexis de Tocqueville's book, Democracy in America, where he talks about how politics corrupts and nobody who's actually any good of anything actually becomes a politician because you get corrupted by the system. Because there are so many extraneous external forces that are going to try and pull you in different directions. You almost have to have an empty shell puppet who doesn't really understand what they're doing, or you need to have the most competent person ever, like they did in Rome, where they would elect a dictator for a time to save the republic, and then the guy would fuck off afterwards. But anything and everything he did at the time was just accepted as
until
this
Caesar
is what we got to do.
And
that's literally what happened. And I think it was Cincinnatus was the most of the Cincinnatus was the most because he like left and then fucked off.
Yes, but yeah,
his death was really cool, by the way.
Oh yeah,
they found he fucked off to a farm, just was living his life, and I forgot they were afraid he might pick a side during one of the times of one of the triumvirs was breaking up, so they were afraid he would pick a side or something. I think this is a story. Someone can fact check me on this, but. Yeah, so some guards come and he's just like, he said something to the effect of,
do I have to?
No. He was way cooler than that. He was like, yeah, give me a clean death, but do it out here in the garden or something, where somewhere I love. Like he's like, I didn't want to go back to Rome and be somewhere. I'd rather die here.
So the Praetorian Guard went out to whack him because they were so worried that he would come back and be effective.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was really interesting story. Now, I don't know if I got all the details of the story. I got the general gist of the story right. Some of the details maybe off, but that's the general gist of the story. Anyway, I digress. The point is, this is blatant stuff. There's agenda behind it. And if you're a Democrat person, you should be seriously thinking about this and why. As a country, we really need to, as the regular American citizens, not the crazies on the sides, okay? I'm talking to everybody else here. All rational Americans
the blurry gray
who would like to see us just be a really good, strong country leading the world and helping everybody, which we already do, by the way, because we Americans provide the most charity monies of any other country in the world. We're a pretty good force in the world.
We are.
It would be best for us to stay that way.
The best force.
There's
in
a
world
tax
history.
going on in our country from all kinds of places inside out. We're not going to get everything. We're just talking about this thing. But that's why they even want Trump back. And honestly, that compared to what we have right now, I'm like, anything. I mean, I don't want that.
Anything is better than what we have now.
You either got a guy who's up at the podium who can't string words together, or you got a guy who's saying, "I'll end this
in 24 hours."
In 24 hours, regardless if he actually accomplishes it in 24 hours. The strength and power that comes from that,
yes,
and then it comes when he actually has the power of the presidency. That carries a lot of weight. And let me also just throw this out here. People around the world actually like Trump more than Biden. FYI. FYI, people. Okay?
Well, people who don't live in the spoiled West.
Yeah. I'm talking about Middle East. I'm talking about Eastern Europe. I'm talking about Africa.
Yes.
I'm talking about many places in Asia for the most part. Maybe not all, but in some parts. These people, like we've said on a previous podcast, they're all like, what the hell are you guys doing? I remember this. This is the thing about Republicans versus Democrat presidents. We almost kind of need a president where you're afraid he's almost an unhinged loon.
Yes,
just a bit. Just like, would this guy just like shoot a rocket off? Like, not a nuke, but just like just one day somebody pisses him off, he'd like fucking bomb him. You know what I mean?
like that exchange he had with North Korean guy.
That's my exact point.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's why none of these dudes pulled any shit.
What was this guy?
Because they were like, I think this guy's crazier than me.
Yeah, he might actually do it.
He might actually kill me.
What did he say?
They were like, nah, I'm good, fam. I'm good.
My button is bigger and my button works.
The problem is he's got two tiny hands to throw the
The fact of the matter is, he believed him.
Yeah.
Like, that's why his foreign policy was so fucking effective. Because Trump is an alpha.
Yeah,
Trump
he's
yeah. I'm sorry, but like outside of America, outside of the West, right? It's still back to the law of the playground about he who has the biggest dick wins. That is the culture.
Like Teddy Roosevelt, speak softly and carry a big stick.
Yes, that's the culture that a lot of these kind of dictators and world bad guys come from. They saw Trump, they saw a fellow alpha. They see Biden and they see a decrepit, corrupt.
They see a corpse.
Corpse. I was gonna say bitch, but
they
corpse
see
is better.
they see a guy from a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, like seriously, if you're a world bad guy and you look at Biden, are you scared?
No,
I'm
not scared.
You're
of him.
not.
I'm not even scared of him. That's what I'm saying. You need to have a. Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the last clip that we have. Let's take a look at the last clip because it's really interesting. Telling, again, primarily focusing on mainstream media and CNN and the obvious agenda that they're pushing on this.
Mm-hmm.
And let's take a look at how they talk down to people who are Republicans. Now, again, they were supposed to have put on this event for Republicans in New Hampshire, and let's take a look at how they actually treat them in this. Not the town hall, but like the post group where they ask questions. What the hell is that called?
Focus group.
Focus group. Yes, thank you. Let's take a look at that.
Anderson, 8 people were with. They were in the audience. What they also have in common is none of them have voted in the past for either Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. 6 of them voted for Donald Trump in the past. 1 didn't vote in the past 2 elections. 1 was too young to vote. But that's what they have in common, that most of them are Trump supporters. What I want to ask you first of all is, do you think, show of hands, anybody think Donald Trump looks better after this town hall? Any of you think he looks worse? Any of you think the same thing about him as you did when you walked in? So all of you feel that way. First thing I want to ask you about, Donald Trump, we have to be blunt about it, is not a truth teller. That's the way he's always been when he was a businessman, when he's been a politician. He has lied about the 2020 election, stuffed ballot boxes, it's all made up. He's lost dozens of court cases. Does it bother you that he keeps talking about 2020 and not 2024? I'll ask you first. This is Jonathan Leslie. He's 40, Republican, voted for Trump twice. How do you feel about those lies?
So I feel like part of it's also the media narrative, as you guys asked him the first question at the town hall about the 2020 election, rather than current stuff.
So don't you think he could say it's time for me to start talking about 2024 and not lies that aren't true?
Couldn't the media ask him a question about 2024?
Well, there were questions, but you're right, that was the first thing, but that's something that was on our mind, and that's why I was asked first. Mike McLaughlin, he's 21. He is undeclared, which is what you do in New Hampshire if you want to be independent, but he voted for Trump in 2020. Mike, same thing to you. What do you feel about Trump continuing to talk about those mistruths from 2020?
Personally, I'm getting tired of hearing about it. I'm very much more so interested in the problems that we face now, and I would prefer to hear him discuss the present issues more so than going to the past.
65-year-old Stephen Farnsworth, Republican, voted for Trump twice. Your opinion about that?
Well, I think that he's committed to it. That's what he feels. That's what he thinks.
Well, do you think he thinks that, or do you think he just keeps saying it to try to will it for people like you to believe it?
I think he actually thinks it.
You do?
No, he may.
Even though he keeps losing in the courts over and over again.
He does say what's on his mind.
Okay. Do you think so? That it was a rigged election?
I'll abstain.
Your feeling about this?
I think it's time to move on from the election, the 2020 election.
Do his fibs offend you?
I think he truly believes it.
You do too?
I think that's what he truly believes. I think a lot of his supporters believe it. Not all of them, but there are a lot of people who do believe it, and he tries to, go along with that, and I would agree that he wills it to be true.
Let me ask 22-year-old Cooper Walsh, who is also undeclared but voted for Trump in 2020. Do you think Trump believes that stuff?
I definitely do think he believes it. I think he's very passionate about it, or else he probably wouldn't still be talking about it. But I think that it's time for him to move on. He needs to talk about what he's going to accomplish in 2024. And I also think the media shouldn't have focused on the huge segment on the 2020 issue. We already know what he thinks about it. I think we should be talking about more of the other issues that the questions had in the audience.
But would it be helpful, Karen Olson, who's 56, she's undeclared, not registered Republican or Democrat, but voted for Trump twice. Wouldn't it be good if he would just say, I'm ready to move on. It's 2024. I'm going to stop lying. I'm going to be honest about it and move on. Wouldn't that be helpful? And then the news media wouldn't ask him about it if he would acknowledge it.
I'd like him to move on. I would like him to stop talking about it, but it is his opinion. So you have to attach that caveat, lie all the time. It just keeps it going. So it's his opinion, and he has a right to have it.
I mean, it's also just the way he. It's like, dude, who are you trying to convince, man? Yourself, or everybody? Everybody has the same response to this. And it's just like, dude, stop. Just stop. Again, if you're trying to get people, don't ram it down their throats.
Yes.
Because again, these people are not idiots. These people understand what's going on.
Absolutely.
And it's just it's just so blatant. And good for the first guy for pushing him out. Was like,
oh yeah, well, something on our mind.
Why is it still on your mind? Why is it?
Okay.
You could easily just do what you were supposed to do and just ask questions about this, but they don't want to do that because this is it's a red herring. It's built for the GOP in New Hampshire for voters there, but all the questions and things they talked about were all Democratic points to get their Democratic base riled up.
Yes.
So you see what the Republicans are doing? You have to come out and vote for the dead man, Biden, because otherwise this Trump guy is coming back. We all know what's going to happen if he comes back. It's going to be 4 more years of hell.
See, what I find really interesting is that Republican voters are really not as dumb as CNN obviously thinks they are.
That is evident.
And B, they really, they would never, ever talk to a Democrat like that. So, for instance, right?
No, hold on a minute. They would do the opposite. They would coddle. There's difference. This is detestment. But with the Democrats, it would be the same message, but switched around to coddling. Don't you agree? Doesn't he lie? Right? You agree with me? He lies, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he does lie. He does lie. I think he's the worst. He's like Satan.
It's like that's what you would get, but the opposite. You see what I'm saying?
But they would never. They would take.
Even trying to say his name makes me want to vomit in the toilet.
This is never how This is never how CNN would treat Democrats. So, for instance,
I don't even think Fox News would treat Democrats badly.
Not this contemptuously. But
that's the thing. That's the thing.
So yeah. See, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? Joe Biden, right? Over the Easter egg hunt or whatever at the White House last month or last week, whatever. He goes on and he claims that he has 6 grandchildren. No reporter would ever have pushed back on him like they pushed back on Trump and been like, Joe, you actually have 7, the illegitimate daughter of a stripper that your son had on a coke rampage.
I mean,
that you still to this day refuse to acknowledge.
They don't even ask where he is. Hey, where's the president? We don't know. As long as he's asleep.
But the point is, they would never ever. That was one example of a clear case where Joe Biden was lying by not acknowledging a grandchild he has, and but they never pushed back on him. They wouldn't be like, "Oh, he lies. He lies. Do you know Joe Biden's lying?" And Joe Biden pathologically lies.
There's no point in getting mad about it because it just is the reality of the world.
Yeah.
Again, the reason why we are highlighting any of this is so that ideally you who are listening or watching can understand that you cannot just trust these organizations.
No, you can't.
You cannot
you
watch
really
this shit.
Cannot.
You can't. You should watch it, and the way you need to watch it is through the lens of being critical of it and looking for how are they talking to fellow citizens and things like this, and trying to figure out what is the agenda behind everything. not to say that, I mean, as human beings, we all have agendas. We all have things we're trying to accomplish.
We all have biases.
We hear, I mean, T and I have biases. We have ways that we think. I mean, we try to be fairly open-minded, but, you know, nobody really ever changes their core beliefs on things. That's just a fact. But if you're at least open to hearing about facts and evidence and things like this, sometimes you might be willing to change your mind. I try to keep myself as open as possible, and I hope that whoever's listening to this, you do as well, as you should, because nothing is absolute in this world, and everything, the way we've set up our society and our civilization, there are powers that be that are behind a lot of these elements and things. FYI, reasons why Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson were fired from these types of organizations.
Yeah.
Once you start pulling the layers of the onion back too many times, you start to see the rotten core at the center. People want to hide like the great powerful Oz behind the curtain again. So you have to. We show you these things about the Trump thing. One, to make fun of Trump and everything that's coming out, just to expose the hypocrisy, to expose these things. But the general underlying message, again, from our channel, and the purpose of this is to let's have an open conversation about what's actually going on. Let's investigate the actual source material. Let's not rely on what other things are telling us, because it used to be back in the day you could trust those sources. You could trust the journalists who are doing the actual investigation that you, a working person, don't have time to do on your own, because my guess is you're just trying to live your life and pay your bills and support your family. You didn't choose potentially a profession of being a journalist or a researcher or anything like this. But nowadays, the only way to be an informed citizen is by basically giving yourself an adjunct professorship in journalism. Because otherwise you're just going to be fed a bunch of bullshit, and it's going to be fed to you by the big fat man who's got the airplane coming in. Oh, I want the big bullshit coming in from the airplane. And you're like, I want it. And the story of today is Trump bad. It's like, yes, he's not the greatest person, but he's not as terrible as everybody makes out to be. And you know what? No, Joe Biden's pretty bad, but but not all Democrats are. Not all Democrats are. There's lots of really good Democrats. There's lots of really good liberals. They just want the country to be strong, just like everybody else. And it's all of us that need to get together and go, what the hell is going on? We need to seriously get this shit sorted out.
Yeah.
And I think most people are thinking that and are like that. And we keep getting the noises from the polar ends that are influencing all of this shit. And it's just becoming annoying. And this is blatant examples of it. This dude in his weird suit, rocking back and forth in front of the guy, what was he trying to do? Should be like,
Look, underneath my pants here is my penis, and sometimes I don't think I have it. I wish it wasn't there some days, but it's here today, and so now can you see it through my pants? Because I'm trying to tell you, he's a liar. He's a liar, pal. Oh, don't you believe me?
and the guy's like, no, I don't, dude. Why are you talking like a weird person? Just be a regular dude. Be a regular dude. Talk to me like I'm an intelligent human being, and let's just have a conversation and some discourse. But instead, they're just trying to hammer down a message on him.
Yes.
And this is what most of the mainstream, and this also goes for Fox News. Okay, nobody is spared in this. All MSM, anything. There are, and I should say, there are still some good journalists, and like even the New York Times or Washington Post. I've seen some articles where I'm like, huh. All right, a few of them slipped through the cracks.
Yeah,
they're gonna be out there and we go soon, but a few of them are still there.
The shame is, and you make exactly a good point, because so for example, on Peacock, they have an excellent show, a film about how these New York Times journalists broke the Harvey Weinstein story. And you watch it and you're like, yes, this is amazing journalism. I just wish that you applied it equally. The same talent and passion and research that you put in to revealing Harvey Weinstein and his antics over the past 30 or 40 years. I wish that you would also apply that to looking into Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and his family's 20 LLCs and $10 million from China shipped through it, as you put into researching every possible sexual or business scenario Donald Trump has ever been in. Apply your talent and your passion equally. And frankly, the media don't.
Our country used to be that way. We still had problems, but there was a lot of compromise, and people did their jobs in a right and righteous way for the most part, and the country was strong during those times.
Yes, it was.
World events and things happen, and you have your bad moments. That's going to happen. That's life. But for the most part, people, despite disagreeing, still had a common value system and commonality of, we all want America, the United States, to be great. We just have differing opinions on how we get there.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can compromise and find a pathway forward together. And that was it used to be. And it's no longer like that. And now it's literally nefarious forces, in my opinion, that are trying to actually bring it down.
Yes.
And I do believe that my opinion is none of the parties are great, but I think one party is vastly worse than the other one.
Yes.
And my humble opinion. But I think
right now,
in general, both kind of suck. And all the rest of us in America who still share those common values and commonalities that we have from the past, but everything around that was the core that we could have as a trust system is breaking in ways.
Yes.
And and it's because of a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons we can't get into on just this pod, but the general gist of this was, I thought it was interesting. One, because it's hilarious. Trump is back. That's just, what the hell, man. And then the other thing is, really, do yourself, if you've listened to this thus far, we appreciate you listening.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for sharing your time with us.
You are what makes the difference.
We, we do this because we want to have we enjoy chatting about this stuff.
Absolutely.
And we want you to, hopefully get an interesting perspective of things, and also just get source material, which maybe you're not going to get from other places, and an interesting perspective. And we would like to hear your perspective as well. Let us know what you think about everything. Some of these clips. What did you think of it? Did you watch it? What are your thoughts on it? What do you think about Trump coming, being the front runner right now? What do you think of the Biden situation? Let us know with some of the materials here, what you're thinking. Because this is important stuff. But please, please, please don't watch just the MSM. You don't necessarily have. This is the worst sales pitch ever. You don't have to necessarily watch us. But for God's sakes, don't just watch that.
The MSM.
Go and get that professorship.
Yes.
In journalism.
Come and watch us, and we will break it down for you as unbiasedly.
And I'm the sales guy.
As unbiasedly and as passionately as our talents can.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So please.
Because we are not going to stop talking about the times, because we are men of the times, and we will see you next time.